Welcome to Exit Algorithms, the podcast where we decode what it really takes to unlock growth, streamline operations, and prepare your business for a high-value exit. I'm your host, Pete Vera, and today I'm joined by Erik Hansen. He's a certified director of safety and the founder of Consolidated Business Services, or CBS, a multi-brand consultancy. He scaled to serve transportation companies and other businesses I found out on the pre-show across US, Canada, and Mexico. He's the guy companies call when their safety scores, you know what, and their financials are a mess. Anybody can call him. But Erik, great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it. You're absolutely right. We serve not just transportation, but multiple sectors through our HR, compliance, risk management, bookkeeping, financials, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited to talk more about it. Do you mind if we start off, could you share a bit about your background? Yeah, maybe your business journey, what led you to build CBS?
To answer that one, I've got to go back about 25 years when I got out of the Army. Didn't have a whole lot of marketable skills after 9 years active duty, so I went into transportation, started driving trucks, and started learning some of that side of the business. Bought my first truck in 2005, discovered I knew how to run a truck, I didn't know how to run a business. Not uncommon. So it ended poorly, of course, but there's also a lot of things I learned out of that. Fast forward 2014, went back to school for a degree in a bachelor's in transportation logistics management, and then started working in the safety and HR side with some mid-sized fleets in the Midwest. Operations management and the tech startup, eventually found my way back into transportation and realized during COVID actually that there was a big call for a lot of smaller fleets that were fighting with their CSA scores. They knew how to run trucks. They did not know compliance. They had the bare basic minimum, if they were lucky, for 49 CFR compliance. And so I saw an opportunity there. And at the time, the company was called Consolidate Compliance Service Solutions, based out of Arlington, Virginia. And so we started working on that, working with a couple of different firms like moving companies, things of that nature, and to realize that there was a definitely need here across multiple, not just over the road types, but household goods, final mile, 3PLs, all had the same issues that they were fighting. And most of them were not large enough that they could have someone like me on staff full time, and they didn't need it. And so then out of that, eventually CBS was born a little over a year ago, with a more, pardon me, a little more refined focus, not just on safety compliance, but also on risk management. Because over the last several years, I started realizing the importance of risk management and how it fits in the fold. And then December of last year, I had an opportunity to purchase a company, a bookkeeping company called Wild & Associates out of Little Rock, Arkansas, which we purchased, brought them on board. So now it gives us a little bit more, with a couple senior bookkeepers and accountants on staff, it makes it easier to service not just freight industry, but other industries as well. So there's a few other things in the process here. We've got some more growth coming, probably second quarter, maybe third quarter of this year. That's also going to expand into transportation. So we're not done growing yet.
Yeah, no, awesome. That's exciting. Yeah, our audience is really business owners looking to scale and grow. I love that you chose the acquisition route as the means to do that. How was that process for you?
This one was actually pretty simple because I knew the owner of the company. Due to health reasons, she decided to retire. Attempted a sale earlier last year, and it went bad. It was just the company she sold to, they did not understand the client base. They were heavy tech and AI. Nothing wrong with that, but unfortunately, their customer service did not align with what her customers needed. But being that I was very familiar with the company, doing my due diligence was very easy. I knew the customers, employees. And so making that purchase was pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah, makes sense for sure. Yeah, was there any challenges with integrating with your existing business?
Not so much. The biggest challenge was some of the customer base that were there through the previous buyout attempt. and it went bad. Rumor has there's probably even a couple of lawsuits that are pending with the company that purchased them originally. And
Wow.
so that was the biggest thing, was overcoming it, to realize, say, hey, you know, I'm retaining 100% of the people. So it's like the people that handled your books for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years are still here. They're still running your account. They are still your primary point of contact. So it was again, so much what we do is relationship regardless of the industry. So to really break it down, that relationship that they had developed was still there. It was still intact. I'm not
I
getting
see.
rid of anybody. We're not getting rid of, your favorite people, the favorite systems that we're using. The only difference really is going to be the name on the invoice each week and the email address. And that is it. Everything else remained the same. Once they came to realize that, it made the transition a lot easier, because the company, they had built a really good relationship with their customers, some they'd worked with for 8 or 10 years.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's a delicate process, changing ownership.
It is.
Oh, that's awesome. So when you get a new client, what are maybe some of the first things you look at or audit for in the business?
Yeah, and this one doesn't matter if it's on the bookkeeping side or the compliance and risk management side, because it's still the same process. What we've done is we've created a kind of a generic intake form, if you will, that will have, the business information. But we also, before we get to that, we will actually sit there and talk with them a couple of times to find out, okay, what are your needs? What are you trying to achieve? Because part of that's going to determine, are we a good fit for them? If they're looking
Yeah.
for something that we can't provide, I'm not going to oversell and overpromise something and then not be able to deliver it. So I've got a recent customer we just brought on the bookkeeping side, was several years behind on their taxes.
Mm.
So they were interested in a flat rate service, which we do offer, but we always tell everybody, I'm not going to even offer you a flat rate for at least 6 months, because I want to find out, what are we up against, exactly how much work there is. And that's the same on the trucking side too.
Yeah.
I've got, small carriers, one in Michigan I've worked with for quite some time. He's on our most basic flat rate because he's small. I know exactly how he does things and how much time it takes me each month to make sure that they're taken care of. I got
Yeah.
some other customers that it's a constant, 15, 20 hours a week, because they are so large, or they've got so many different things going on, or we've taken so much of their process. But the big part really is, we're going to sit down in a no pressure environment, and I'm going to pick your brain and find out exactly, why are you looking for help now? Not saying you don't need it, but okay, why? What are you looking to get out of this? What does success look like to you in this, really, in this venture, in this partnership, if you will?
Hmm. Got it. Yeah, so it makes sense. It depends on the customer, of course. I guess let's focus on the trucking businesses first. What are some things that they frequently do wrong, or how do you increase their safety scores?
People often confuse compliance and safety. They're not the same. They'll look at the idea of saying compliance, they're like, well, if we focus on complying with every single part of 49 CFR, we're going to be safe. Well, no, your paperwork may be aligned, but unless your culture is aligned with what it takes to be safe, it's because the score is just a reflection of what we're doing as a carrier. It's not the end all be all. If your goal is to knock down numbers, yeah, we can do that. But if your goal is to actually be safe, to where everybody understands that getting home at the end of the day is what's actually important, that making sure that we're taking care, we're looking out for each other, we're taking care of our coworkers, some simple core principles. We take care of our coworkers, we take care of our customers, we take care of the company. We do the first two, the third will happen automatically. And so that really is there, because there's a common thing. They say, well, we're compliant with the law, therefore we're safe. No, you're compliant with the law on paper, but now let's look behind the scenes and see what's going on. Well, your CSS score, it will show accidents, but that's only for DOT reportable. It doesn't deal with anything of, you hit your guy backs up, hits the fuel island, or takes out a tree, or scrapes another trailer in a parking lot. Those little claims radically add up quickly, but they're never reflected in your CSA score. So if you're a
Mm.
broker and you're trying to find a carrier, you go to Safer, you pull the data down, and say, cool, they've got, 6 million miles last year, but they only had 2 accidents. Now they had 2 DOT reportables.
Mm.
They could have
Okay.
had literally 150 that were
Yeah,
not DOT reportable, that you don't know anything about, but that will still impact their ability to service you as a customer.
I see. Yeah.
So it's breaking down, and the realization that a lot of people they equate that CSA score to safety, and it's not the same. Look at e-logs. They've been out for 15 years now. We've been running under them, and we were told that 100% compliance would equal safety. How many accidents have been prevented as a result of e-logs?
I don't know.
Not one.
Not one. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if we have fleets with a 95% compliant rate, there's been no meaningful evidence of anything, a decline in collisions because
Mm,
you're focusing on compliance, you're not focusing on the root cause. Well, again, you mentioned I'm a certified director of safety. I'm also a certified fleet investigator and a big accident investigator. And so the part is we do a root cause. We find out, okay, why did this happen? Not just, okay, somebody ran a red light and they T-boned somebody else. That was the accident. No, that's what happened, but that's not necessarily the root cause. What led up to, running that red light? Usually it comes down to a factor of actions, choices that were made. The same thing happens on the big fleet side. We do that root cause and find out and say, okay, complying with hours of service is one part of it, but it's not going to guarantee that your fleet is operating safely or efficiently. There's
yeah.
a lot of people, sorry, I'll put on my screen, is realize that safety and operations do not need to work against each other. In fact, the
Mm,
more that we work against each other, the more ineffective the organization is. We're going to cause tension, doesn't need to be there. We're going to affect the bottom line, and we're going to affect the customers, and they will find somebody else.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I find it interesting, you do both keep the books and safety. I imagine there's a lot of some crossover, right? If you improve safety scores, then you're more likely to increase your revenue, right? Because you'll attract the right people.
Sure, because there is an ROI. And that's why a lot of carriers, they look at the safety department as a line item expense. And one of the first
Yeah.
things they'll do is they will cut back on the safety department and the maintenance departments to save money. Yeah, initially you might for the first 30 to 45 days, but now all of a sudden you've got everything else that's slipping. And what happens if there is an incident and it goes to litigation? Then
Mm,
your ROI that you thought you had is now eaten up in attorney's fees, insurance, and everything else. But yeah, there is a definite crossover, and it's more of a here's money that we're not spending versus what we are spending. And we look back over time and say, yes, there's been a say a 30% reduction in claims. Well, that right there could save you, depending on your fleet size, millions of dollars a year. It's not an
sure.
insignificant amount.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And the theme of the show, exit algorithms, it's preparing a business for a successful exit. And a truck line that has a poor safety score, obviously that's going to take away from some of the value they could capture
Mhm.
when they do sell.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. Again, because someone like me who will buy or who will buy another company, we're going to do our due diligence reports. We're going to crawl through everything. Because I'm going to look through
Mhm.
at a minimum of the previous 2 years of financials. I'm going to interview customers, employees. I'm going to look far beyond just your P&L. Um, I'm looking for what claims you have, what's been paid out, what went to litigation, how's it solved, what did you do about it afterwards to reduce the likelihood. And if you've got say you've got an ISS score of 70. On paper, your company may have a valuation, say, of $5 million. But if I've got somebody with an ISS score of 40 in that same valuation, I guarantee you they'll make the valuation.
Yeah.
But if I've got somebody I'm looking at and they've got a horrible safety score, I'm only realizing it's like, okay, now it's not a driver issue, it is a leadership issue.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I know the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to buy this company and I'm firing everybody. And now
Mm.
I'm incurring more time and cost because I have to replace the people that put it where it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good example for sure. I'm curious, what's your process when you go through a new customer? Do you have any tools that you use, like software?
No, I'm actually, it's on the bookkeeping side. Yeah, we'll go through their books. We'll pull the P&L and we'll start way up to that side. On the carrier side, I use a lot of what's open to me. Uh, Again, I'll go through all the regular, you're safer and everything else, but I'm also going to do an audit. I will do a full carrier audit. And that's one of the first things I do is, all right, what are we up against here? And it's not to say if I'm, if it's a new customer or something I'm looking at buying. So it's the same drill. It's like, I'm going to do a full audit and say, okay, maybe you're the owner of the company. You say, yeah, I need some help here, but I don't know what. I'm going to do the audit and say, all right, fine. Here's what I have found. Here's my instant recommendations. And here's a projection timeline and cost of what it's going to take to achieve this. And a lot of the stuff is not expensive. It really isn't. Training programs. I mean, there's training programs I've developed that, like, I'll darn near give you.
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I can sell it to you if you want it, or I can go ahead and train your people as a trainer program at my regular rate, and then I can help monitor and make sure that things are following through.
yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah, are you using any AI or anything like that in either of your two businesses?
On the bookkeeping
Well,
side, no, we do not. We actually have a
besides.
prohibition on the use of AI in it. The reason being, a lot of our customers that we've taken over the last year or so came from firms that utilized AI in the process. To say that it was incorrect, we'll just say it was done very poorly, and it cost some of them
Mm,
thousands of dollars.
yeah.
So because of that, we only use people that actually have experienced some with decades of experience. So I love my team I got there. On the trucking side, I will utilize some AI tools. Now, granted, the big thing is I love telematics. If
Yeah.
a company is not using solid telematics, that's always one of my first recommendations. Let's go to something like Motive or Samsara, something that will give you the quality information and feedback at a relatively low cost.
Hmm.
The ROI on that is great. I can teach them how to use it, and so they know what they're looking at with these reports. But no, I do driver scorecards. I'll do entire company scorecard. That takes a little bit of time, and it's a result of those audits. To say, all right, again, keep it simple. 30,000 foot overview. I'm not going to get somebody lost in the weeds of, okay, here's what we're seeing. Here's your strengths. Here's the weaknesses. Here's what could be a weakness or could easily be a strength with a little tweaking.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you can't ever use AI and just let it go and just, not monitor it closely because it does make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's that's unfortunate, especially, financial errors that are missed. Yeah, it's a good cautionary tale, AI is not quite there yet where you can just, let it do things for you completely without human intervention.
Well, even while researching 40, something in the 49 CFR, I've seen it make multiple mistakes. There was a LinkedIn conversation I was on this morning, and someone said they got a lot of company owners now that they're trusting their AI platform to research, say 49 CFR 383, and it's giving them bad information, and then they're running into all kinds of issues. And so it's one of the things. Remember, say, yeah, it has a place. It can be a useful tool for some things, but at the end of the day, it comes down to people who are knowledgeable that know what they're looking at and understand the process and can actually properly interpret it. 49 CFR is not rocket science,
Yeah,
but if we misapply it, it can get very expensive very quickly.
sure. That makes sense. Yeah, and you mentioned telematics. Are there any other areas you think AI would affect? We'll focus on the transportation industry.
Sure.
Uh,
Well, most of our telematics providers these days have some sort of AI, usually when it's screening events in the camera, looking for certain characteristics for speeding, running stop signs or red lights, aggressive driving. So there actually is a decent amount of AI that's already integrated with the telematics. If I remember right from talking to Motive about this about a year ago, they've actually really pushed that model. However, they also will review a potential incident that's flagged before sending to the carrier.
mhm.
So even while it's being used as a filter, um, you still need to have a set of human eyes on there to say, okay, did it interpret this data correctly? Because at the end of the day, that's all it's doing is interpreting data, a bunch of ones and zeros, and saying, okay, does this fit this criteria or these thresholds?
Yeah, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. It's useful in certain use cases, very useful. But again, you do need an expert to guide it. Yeah. Um, Fascinating. Well, yeah, I know we're coming up on time here shortly. I always ask guests this at the end. If you could leave a business owner one practical tip they can implement this week, what would it be?
It's not personal. This is business. don't give up when it gets hard because there's times, I mean, I've been self-employed before. It's not my first rodeo and I failed miserably. Take your time, step back, catch your breath. If something's not, constantly reassess. What we did 20 years ago doesn't work today. What we're doing today may not even work next quarter. So slow down, take a look at things. Don't grow too fast. Uncontrollable growth will destroy your business. No question about it.
Yeah.
And try to stay debt free.
A little more than one, but really good, solid advice. Thank you. Well said. Where can listeners find you easiest, Erik?
Um, or Erik at ERIK at cbsbc.com, or you can plug my number is area code 307-445-1372. We're busy, we stay busy, but I've always got room for one more. I can always
Great.
hire
Yeah.
somebody else to take care of a customer if I need to. So
Awesome. Yeah, I'll leave that in the show notes as well. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Erik. It was great having you.
thanks for having me. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.